Welcome to the Fantasy Bros Fancast with your bros, Mark, Tanner, Jarrell, and Tyrell.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 6 of Fantasy Bros Fancast. On this episode, we're going to go through our startums and situms for week 1. I'm Tyrell Sikora, your host. We got Mark Peterson. We got Tanner Thompson with us today, and Tyrell Sikora. You can follow us at Bros Fancast on Twitter and Instagram. And on Facebook, we have a Facebook page. It's called Fantasy Bros Fancast. Follow us on there, and we'll keep you up to date on any comments or feedback you guys can give us. That'd be great. Okay, so today we're going to go over stardom and situms for week 1. We're going to start off with Mark. What do you got for by the way, we're going to go with like a stardom and situm for every position. We're going to rifle them off here, and if we have time, we're going to debate some of the picks at the end of the show here. But Mark, let's start them off. What do you got?
Well, let's start off at the wide receiver position. My first sit of the year is going to go to T.Y. Hilton, who most people were taking in the second or third round of their fantasy drafts. QB situation is a mess. I think Scott Tolzien is going to be their first starter of the year. He's a 30-year-old who hasn't started any more than 3 games and has looked not that great. 2 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. O-line's horrible. They allowed 44 sacks last year. I would not be trusting T.Y. Hilton this week. I think probably they work more of their ground game than anything. I'm predicting him for 6 receptions, 60 yards, and 0 touchdowns.
Okay. Who else you got here?
Do you want me to go over my stardom then?
Yeah, let's go over your whole package. What you have going on for week 1.
Okay. I'll just do my other wide receiver. Then I'll give you guys a chance to cue in. But my other one was Martavis Bryant. He is back, and he is better than ever. This guy is going to be a monster this year. I don't think that there is going to be a week that you should even hesitate on starting the guy. He's my by far breakout wide receiver of the year. Next year, look for him to be drafted probably in the second round. He's one of Big Ben's most trusted targets in the end zone. And I have him also as he is a high flyer runner, and he will run those deep posts and put him up, or Big Ben will put the ball up for him many times. I'm guessing him to get 6 receptions, 100 yards, and a touchdown this week. Okay. It's also against the Browns, so I think you can feel comfortable starting absolutely everyone on the Steelers roster this week.
Sweet. Jarrell, who do you have for your wide receivers, stardom and situm for this week?
This week I'm going with Sammy Watts. He's almost a must start right now, facing off against Colts. They don't have Vontae Davis. They got a rookie in Quincy Wilson starting in his place. And they got a kind of a journeyman in Rashawn Melvin on the other end, covering probably Cooper Kupp. I think he's primed for a big game. But it could get out of hand early, so they could be hitting Todd Gurley quite a bit too. So that might ding his value a little bit, but I think he goes off with Jared Goff throwing on the ball this week. I sit him. I'm joining Mark on this one. T.Y. Hilton, same game. I'm a Colts fan. I don't trust Scott Tolzien one bit. I think looking at his numbers, 6 for 60, that's probably a good estimation of what he's going to go for this week. I mean, he's still going to get his catches. I don't think the yard's going to be there. Tolzien doesn't have the arm. So yeah, I would definitely sit T.Y. Hilton this week. Watkins projection, I could see like an 8 for 110 and a touchdown this week.
You're not afraid of the new offense he's going to and on short time to learn it?
A little bit. I'm not a big Sammy Watkins fan at all. I kind of avoid him in all fantasy drafts. But you know what? I think I think the Colts secondary is a little bit weak. There's a lot of rookies starting this week, so we'll see. It's a little bit of a shot in the dark, but I think he can pull together this week. Terrell, who do you got for your wide receivers?
Okay, and for my wide receivers, start them and sit them this week. I'm going to start Stefon Diggs. I think this year, Sam Bradford is an extremely efficient quarterback, and the O-line is healthy for now.
It's not a very good O-line, but
it's not a very good O-line, no. But I don't trust New Orleans secondary one bit. I mean, they did get the cornerback. I think what's his name?
Marshawn Lattimore.
Maybe he steps up week 1 and proves that he was worth a high pick in the draft. But I expect Stefon Diggs. I think he's going to be 7 catches for about 120 yards and a touchdown. I think he's going to get a huge. I think he's going to be a huge week on Monday. He's going to have a huge week on Monday night here, and he always seems to start the season off hot, and then he fades away halfway through the season. But I expect him to have a big week. And my sit-em player for this week for the wide receivers is Alshon Jeffrey. I don't know. The guy is always hurt. I don't really trust him. He could be going up against Josh Norman, who is probably the 1 or 2 top cornerbacks in the league, in my opinion. Premier shutdown corner. For his stat projection, I'm thinking maybe a 4 catch for like 58 yards type deal. I think that's what he's going to max out this weekend.
Stefon Diggs is getting moved to the outside, and they're banking on Adam Thielen kind of being more of the step-up guy in that role. Do you see Adam Thielen maybe hurting Stefon Diggs' reception totals? They say he might not even get to 100 like he has been projected for.
Well, the thing with this game, the reason why I picked Stefon Diggs and Sam Bradford having a good game is New Orleans likes to put points on the board. And with that offense, they're high octane, and they can put a lot of points on the board really fast. So I think if that happens, Minnesota is going to abandon the run with Dalvin Cook and Latavius Murray, and I think they're going to start going to the pass a lot more. And if Drew Brees lights it up early first half, I think Minnesota is going to abandon the run game, and they'll be dumping it off to Diggs and Thielen and whoever else they have down in mini.
Okay. Tanner, who you got for your wide receiver? Start him and sit him.
Okay, so my hit him is Rishard Matthews from Tennessee. I think that this is going to be Marcus Mariota's coming out party. I see Matthews getting up to 12 targets in this game. So I'm projecting 8 receptions for 80 yards and a touchdown. My sit him is Hopkins from Houston. He's going to be lining up against Ramsey. This guy kind of gets hidden because he plays for the Jaguars, but this is the true shutdown cornerback of the NFL. And I see Hopkins getting probably up to 8 targets, but I only see him reeling in 4 receptions for 30 yards and 0 touchdowns.
That's bad news for your fantasy team.
Yeah, that is bad news.
Okay, Mark, let's start back with you. What do you have for quarterbacks this week? Start him and sit him.
For my stardom, I've got Russell Wilson leading the charge this week. Last year, he kind of had a shaky one. He was only a top quarterback 6 times out of the 17 weeks. He battled ankle injuries and didn't look very consistent. He didn't use his legs like he usually did. And I think it all has to do with that ankle injury. But I think coming back this season, he's fresh. He's still a young quarterback. I think he's only about 28, so this is kind of his prime. I definitely still think he's going to use his feet this year, and I think he's got some good weapons in there. Baldwin, he's got the new wide receiver there in Richardson, and I also think that their tight end is going to be big as well. They have a choppy backfield with the running backs, but I still think that the running backs play a bit of a toll in the game as well. I think that Russell Wilson is going to be a guy you're going to look to start every single week from now on. Forget about his choppy pass last year. But I think that he goes for about 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and about 40 yards rushing, and a touchdown as well this week.
That's a good stat line right there. I'd start him if that's what he's getting.
Who's your sit-em this week?
My sit-em this week is Andy Dalton. Divisional matchup in with Baltimore. He doesn't have a whole lot of targets to go towards. Their only target, I believe, is AJ Green. Other than that, you have Tyler Eifert, who's been coming back from a longer list of injuries. He got a little bit of playing time last season, but I still think he's only good for your red zone targets. They have a very choppy backfield, and they're not going to know who they're handing it off to. I think that they try to play the run game a little more than the passing game. I think the Baltimore secondary is one of the better ones in the league, so I think they really shut down AJ Green and some of their other wide receivers they have there. I only have him throwing for about 200 yards and a touchdown this week, and maybe one interception.
Okay. Tyrell, who do you got?
My stardom this week is Carson Wentz. Unlike you, Tyrell, I actually like his receivers now in Philadelphia. I think Alshon Jeffrey is a definite step up from what they had last year in Jordan Matthews. You got Torrey Smith. He's a deep ball guy there, and you still got what's his name? Darren Sproles in the backfield, and you still got Zach Ertz as your tight end. So you still got lots of guys that have big play potential in that offense. I would be okay saying he's going to go for about 275, and I'd say 2 touchdowns. I do think he'll probably have a couple sacks though in there, so I'll hurt you a little bit. My sit is in the same game again is Kirk Cousins. I don't like. I think losing Sean McVay as his offensive coordinator last year is really going to hurt, and I haven't heard good things out of Kirk Cousins in the preseason so far, which, yes, it's preseason, but you never know. I don't think you can expect a lot from Kirk Cousins in this game. Philly's got a good defensive line. They got athletic linebackers and a decent secondary. So I see probably about 220 yards, a couple sacks, maybe a touchdown and a pick out of that game for Kirk Cousins. I'm okay saying that for him.
Okay, good. Tanner, who do you got this week?
My stardom this week, and as long as Vontae Davis is out in the Indianapolis secondary, I'll probably start every quarterback that plays the Colts. This week it's Goff. So I don't think his numbers are going to be extremely high, but if you're hurting for a quarterback, I think Goff can be put in there. He might be able to get you 250 yards, couple touchdowns, and he might even be able to use his legs to get an extra one. My sit-em this week is David Carr. I think the Titans' defense is extremely underrated, and the time and play is going to kick in here because the Titans have that ranked number 1 run offense, and I think that they're going to have the ball for more than half of the game, which reduces the amount of time that Carr can gain points for you. So he's my sit-em. Goff is my stardom.
Okay, good stuff. Okay, I'm going to start off with my start for quarterback position this week. I'm going to go Big Ben. He's getting Martavis Bryant back this week. Antonio Brown's still there. He's still probably the best receiver in the game. Le'Veon Bell just signed his franchise tender this morning, so he's going to be back in the backfield there. And Cleveland's secondary is kind of a mess. Joe Hayden, he signed with Pittsburgh, so they're kind of a mess back there, and I totally expect Big Ben to carve them up. I know it's a divisional game, but Big Ben's healthy, O-line's healthy, everyone's kind of back, and I expect probably about a 300-yard game with about 3 touchdowns and maybe 1 interception. And for my sit-em this week, I'm going to go Phillip Rivers. Denver's defense is probably the best in the league right now. They got extremely talented cornerbacks. Von Miller's still there. He's wreaking havoc on the edge. And I don't trust LA's receivers. They're always hurt. Keenan Allen, I know he's having a really good preseason. It's only preseason, but he's had some freak injuries the last couple of years, and Tyrell Williams. He came on last year. He was actually a pretty good target for Phillip Rivers, but I expect a 175 yards passing for Phillip Rivers and 2 picks and about 3 sacks.
Does Myles Garrett scare you at all coming off the edge in Cleveland, hitting Big Ben, and
Not
the
really.
possibility and the possibility of that game getting out of hand pretty early? Big Ben does have an injury history, so I wouldn't be surprised if it is out of hand that he does get pulled, say, early fourth quarter.
No, I don't. Until Myles Garrett can come in and prove that he is. I know he was the number 1 overall pick, but until he comes in there and proves that he is an elite pass rusher in the game, I'll shy away from saying that he is going to wreak havoc on that edge right now. They got a defense that's, I don't know, they got a couple good defensemen on the defense linemen, but I don't think he's that good. Okay, so that's our quarterback and wide receiver right now. Let's start with Mark, and let's see your running backs for this week.
My running backs, I'm going to start Ty Montgomery this week.
Ooh, Seattle.
I know it's Seattle, but
Sheldon Richardson.
Oh yeah.
I still think that having Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback does not allow you to cheat up that much. And even in the short time that Ty has been running back there, he's averaged 6 yards per carry. If he's not going to be effective running the ball, he'll definitely take some swing out passes from Aaron Rodgers and scoot it up the outside as well. I still think they're going to find a way to give him the ball and get that running game and that passing game going using him. I think he was taken at the start of the second round in our draft, and I think that is a bit of a high price. But I think Gordy from our league will be rewarded highly for that one. I'm thinking that he is going to rush the ball about 65 times, 15 carries. He's just going to do it all this game for you guys. No, 15 carries, 65 yards, and a touchdown. And I'm thinking 4 receptions for 40 yards as well.
Okay.
Who's your sit-em this week?
My sit-em is Leonard Fournette. He's going up against the Houston defense, which is ranked in the top 5 coming in this year. Fournette's been dealing with a foot injury all preseason, and the notes out there and news about it is that he still kind of has some lingering issues with it. I think going into the first game on the weekend, they're going to play it a little safe and kind of use them conservatively to kind of protect them from further injuring that foot. It's a tough matchup. I only see him getting about 18 carries probably and 70 yards.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think he's too much of a weapon coming out of the backfield catching balls. And for one, I'd be sitting Leonard Fournette until he can prove that he can stay healthy and to see what he actually is. I'm not a big believer in Leonard Fournette, but we'll see.
Oh, it's a very tough matchup from this week as well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Tyrell, who do you got?
My stardom this week is a little bit of a surprise. I like Carlos Hyde in playing against Carolina. I know Carolina's got a pretty stingy defense, but Carlos Hyde is that bell cow back there. They don't really have much behind him. He is a threat out of the backfield catching the ball too. So, I mean, I don't think he's going to get a ton of yardage rushing-wise, but I think you'll supplement it with the pass. I think you can kind of expect like an 18-carry, 80-yard type game, and I'll go 4 catches for 35 yards and a touchdown, which in the end is gonna get you a pretty good outcome for your week. My sit-em this week, and I don't really like Lesean McCoy just due to age and the fact that there is literally nobody else on that offense. We don't even know who's starting at quarterback with Tyrod Taylor and their backup. I can't remember his name. They all have concussions. Sounds like if Tyrod Taylor doesn't come back, it could be Nathan Peterman, the rookie. I think he's a 5th-round pick this year. He could be throwing the ball. So I think the Jets, they still have a pretty good defense. Even with the Sheldon Richardson trade, I think they're going to stack 8 guys in the box every down and limit Lesean McCoy. I think he's going to come out with probably 16 total touches, and I would say probably around 75 total yards.
Okay. Tanner, who do you got this week?
Well, I'm actually, I disagree with Mark. My sit-em is Ty Montgomery playing the Seattle Seahawks. With Sheldon Richardson there, I don't see him getting any yards on the ground. He might be able to get a couple catches out of the background, that scat back kind of running back that they tried developing last year, but they got Earl Thomas in Seattle. Even if he gets those receptions, he's only getting 5 or 6 yards. It doesn't look good for him, and I'm not confident he's the starting running back there anyways. I think they're going to be splitting carries that entire game. So I'm anticipating less than 50 yards from him and maybe 3 catches for 12 yards. My starter is Adrian Peterson coming back to Minnesota, and I'm guaranteeing this guy's going to get at least 1 touchdown. Any point where they're on the goal line, they're going to let this guy run it in. And, he even came out and said, this is a revenge game for me because he wanted out in 2015. They made him play through 2016. This is a revenge game for him. At least 1 touchdown. Really, the guy could get 100 yards. If they get up high enough, they're going to let him beat the ball.
That's pretty good.
I like it.
Yeah, I like that one too. Okay, for my running backs this week, I'm going to start Bilal Powell.
Of course you would.
Well, I know Powell, but they got no one else in New York. He might honestly touch the ball 30 times this game. Even if he averages, like, say, 3.5 yards a touch, he's still going to get you about 100 yards. I don't even know if McCown's going to be the quarterback this week because he suffered that injury last week. But even if he is there, he's a decent stopgap for a few games. But Bilal Powell, when he was rushing the ball last year, he averaged over 5.5 yards a carry. And I think he's going to be a bell cow back this year. He's going to be a fantasy star. I'm projecting for him about 80 yards rushing and about 6 catches for about 25 yards and one total touchdown. And my sit for running back this week is going to be a Kareem Hunt. I don't know. He's a rookie running back. He's going to be playing the Patriots defense. The Patriots always seem to have a really good defense every year, no matter who they throw in there. Alex Smith is a quarterback. I expect the Patriots defense to stack the line of scrimmage. I don't think anyone trusts Alex Smith anymore. The guy is he's just a dump down quarterback. He's terrible. But I expect Kareem Hunt to rush for 45 yards and get 2 catches for about 20 yards. And he's not going to get a touchdown this week. I would sit Kareem Hunt.
I'm glad you said that too.
I just saw Mark just put AP in his starting rotation after my little spiel there.
There you go.
I didn't put him in there. He's been in there since the beginning.
Another thing on Kareem Hunt, and I'm a little bit of a sucker for Thursday night games, which I don't know why, but I don't know. Thursday night games scare me a little bit, and you always kind of put guys in hoping they're going to have a big game, and it always comes out as a bit of a stinker too.
Okay, let's start with our tight ends here. Our tight ends this week. Go ahead, Mark.
For my tight ends, I have. Let me just find him here. I got a stardom as Delanie Walker. I think he's not one of my favorite tight ends in the league, but I think coming into this game against the Raiders, I think they were one of the worst teams at defending the tight end last year. As the same as saying that too, they have a bunch of new targets on the Titans wide receiver corps and so on. So I think that Mariota is going to want to go with some of his more trusted people. Like I believe what Tanner saying that Rishard Matthews will have a big game, and I also think that Delanie Walker is going to have a good game there too. I'm putting him up for about 6 receptions for 60 yards and a touchdown myself. Then on my sit-em, I am going with Tyler Eifert over there as well. Baltimore was one of the best teams last year at stopping the tight end position, and I don't think it's going to be any different this year. It's also a rivalry game, and I don't think it's going to be a very high-scoring game there either. I'm only putting him up for about 5 receptions for about 30 yards, no touchdowns.
Okay. Tyrell, who do you got this week?
My stardom is Jack Doyle. I know some people have ripped me already just before the episode was being recorded here. I think Jack Doyle's prime for a big game. I don't see Scott Tolzien using his outside targets in T.Y. Hilton and Dante Moncrief much this game. So I think Doyle is money down the middle of the field. I know the Rams, they have a little bit of a weak defense in your linebacker, middle linebackers, and your safeties. So that can be exploited a little bit. I don't think it's going to be a big yardage output, but he's probably going to get 6 catches, 60 yards, and a red zone target, which could lead to a touchdown, which you might not have even drafted Jack Doyle. So if you get that out of your tight end and you pick them up off waivers, that's decent production. My sit-em this week is Greg Olsen. The guy is a stud at tight end, but he is playing San Francisco defense that now has Reuben Foster and Navarro Bowman. I think those guys can both cover very well. Greg Olsen isn't the fastest guy out there, so I don't see much from him this week. I think you can go probably 5 catches, 58 yards type thing.
Okay, Tanner, who do you got this week?
My hit this week. Let me just pull up my notes here. You guys got me a little bit sidetracked.
Are you flustered?
Yeah, I'm flustered. Okay, so my stardom this week is Brait from Tampa Bay. I just think that offense is electric. They're going to be double covering Mike Evans, Deshaun Jackson down the field. This guy's going to be open in the slot. So I think he's going to get at least 6-7 targets. He's going to have about 6 receptions, 70 yards, and a touchdown. My sit-em is Ebram from the Lions. The guy hasn't played all preseason. Is he even healthy? Is he playing?
He's never healthy.
So
he's never healthy.
He's ranked quite high, and for a guy who drafted tight ends at the end of the draft, he's a guy that I didn't even want to touch because I can't rely on him week in and week out to actually finish the game. So he's my sit-em this week.
Okay,
Yeah, he is scheduled to start week 1 too, so that's a good sit.
Okay, with my stardom this week for tight ends, I'm going to go with Kyle Rudolph. I still think this game's going to be a huge points scored this week. New Orleans, they don't really have any name linebackers that can cover a good tight end. Their safeties, I don't even know. Kenny Vaccaro, he's still pretty good back there, but it's still a pretty weak defense. I expect Kyle Rudolph. He's going to get red zone targets. He's one of Bradford's favorites for the red zone. So I expect him to get about a 5-catch, 55-yard game and a touchdown. And
it's weird. You keep taking players off your fantasy team. Your team must be an all-star group, eh?
I don't have Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah, you do.
No, I don't.
I thought you did.
I got Jordan Reed. Shut up. Okay, and I'm going to totally disagree here with Tyrell on Jack Doyle. Sit this guy. They got no quarterback. I don't know. Scott Tolzien, can he throw more than 15 yards? I don't know.
That's exactly why he's money.
No, sit him. LA Rams, they still have a really good defense. Aaron Donald looks like he's not going to sign his franchise tender, so he won't be there week 1. But they got Alex Ogletree. They got Mark Barron covering the middle of the field there. Mark Barron, he's a converted safety to linebacker now. The guy is actually a complete stud now that he's found a new position. And I totally expect Jack Doyle to bust this week with a 2-catch, 15-yard output. So, okay, well, that's you guys want to go over defense? Do we have time for defense?
Yeah, we got
How long have we been going?
Okay, well, let's go with the defense here, Mark.
I got a great defense. I picked up, as I started looking through this to see who I wanted to start, I came across a defense that was still sitting out there. Owned 34% of Yahoo leagues. I picked up the Buffalo defense to go up against the Jets for this next week. There is no receivers in New York. There's no running backs. There's no tight ends. I think your best option if you're looking to start somebody on the Jets this week is their kicker, Chandler Catanzaro. He'll probably put home more points than Powell will for you this weekend. I think if you want to stream any defenses, I think Buffalo's definitely a good one to go with.
Okay,
And
who's your sit-em?
I am sitting the Seattle defense.
Great
because I think that Aaron Rodgers and that team is just way too high-powered. If you are reaching for a defense or anything like that, you better be thinking about streaming one this week because it's going to be a gunslinging show. It's going to be a high-scoring game. Don't even bother starting them.
Yeah, good stuff.
I agree.
Gerald, what do you got?
My stardom this week may come as a little bit of a surprise, but right now it's totally on the Zeke Elliott case. If he misses, then I think New York Giants is going to be a great start. I feel like there's going to be a little bit of a letdown with Dak Prescott this year. Guys are going to clue in on what he does. That offensive line is still outstanding, but I think the Giants will get they got a good defensive line, so I think you'll get a few sacks out of them. I think also that's going to be a low-scoring game too, so that might play in your favor. I'm with Mark as well. I'm sitting Seattle this week all day long just because of the Aaron Rodgers effect. Jordy Nelson has had his way against Seattle before in the past. I think Devontae Adams is primed for a big breakout this year. You have Martellus Bennett, but I think Cam Chancellor will probably be shadowing him all game long, so he might not be much of a weapon this week. But either way, I'm sitting Seattle all day long this week.
Okay, and Tanner, who do you got?
So my stardom this week, I'm going back to Tennessee. I think the Titans are extremely underrated defense this year. They're going to have the time of play, so Carr's going to have limited plays to play with, and they're at home. So I think if you're searching for a defense, and I think Buffalo's a great option, but if you're looking for a team that's owned in less than 30%, I think the Titans is a safe pick. My sit-em this week, and a lot of people drafted them, are the Vikings, and that's due to their high number of sacks from last year. They're playing against the Saints, who don't give up a ton of sacks. And I really think that they're going to run up that score with AP at the end of the game to give him his 100 yards and a couple TDs. So I think the Vikings are to avoid, and the Titans are someone you can look for in waivers if you're looking for a defense.
Is Teron Armstead, is he out this week?
He is out this week, yep.
I think that's a big loss. You have Everson Griffin. That guy's going to just destroy that line.
He might destroy it, but Drew Brees doesn't give up sacks. He's the shutdown. He might be passing it to Kamara for 10 times. Those running backs may get a lot of receptions, and that's his game. It's just the same reason why Tom Brady doesn't get
Is
sacks.
Another question to the Saints fan, is Max Unger back too?
I don't think he is.
Your center?
I don't think he is.
That's terrible.
They didn't put either one of them on the PUP, so they will be back before week 6. But it's Drew Brees. He's a magician back there. He doesn't need a line.
Yeah. Tyrell, who you got?
And I'm going to start the Rams this week. Going back to Indy game, and they got no quarterback once again. We've all touched that a lot here.
We've beaten this one to death. Everybody knows why.
Yeah, they got a good defense. And I'm going to sit the Kansas City defense this week, going up against the Patriots. Patriots like to use the middle of the field, and I mean Eric Berry's still probably the top safety in the league besides maybe Earl Thomas. But Gronk's back healthy. They got Cooks out there, and you never know what the running backs that they have in New England. They always like to use them in the pass game. I'm gonna sit Kansas City this week. The Patriots might put up 35 points this week, and that's not very good if you're owning them in fantasy football.
That's a good sit. Gill's going to get about 2 touchdowns there.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I guess that's it for this week's episode 6. Five. Sorry. And that's our episode of Stardom and Sid'em. Hopefully you guys take our advice, and hopefully it does well for you. You can catch us at Twitter at Bros Fancast, and in Instagram, same tag there. And on Facebook, you can catch us at what is it here? Fantasy Bros Fancast. And good luck this week.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to Fantasy Bros Fancast.
Catch us every week with new episodes on Fantasy Advice.